This week on the podcast, Carrie and I are sharing some tips and tricks for how to handle the different kinds of weather when you're visiting Walt Disney World. What happens when you're there during extreme heat, or maybe it's cold, or maybe there's a hurricane coming? Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. Hi, I'm Francine.
And I'm Carrie.
We're two best friends who can't stop talking, usually about Disney stuff.
Sometimes we have fascinating guests, and sometimes it's just us, but it's always positive and fun.
We're happy to have you join our chat. Thanks for listening, and let's get started. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
It's been a great week.
I don't know that I'd say that, but today's okay.
Well, that's good. As long as today's okay.
Yeah. You know,
What's...
Woke up, put some pants on.
You and your pants. So I was giving you a hard time about having, like, regular pants on, because I live in track pants.
I think you called them real pants.
I think I did.
Are you wearing real pants?
Right? Because I live in track pants these days. Because I'm working from home and I'm not going anywhere. I live in track pants. They're comfortable.
They are.
And
sometimes you need to put real pants on.
I know, and I really resent those times when I need to put real pants on. We had some people at my work. We're doing a pilot now where people are going back into the office. And so some of them went in last week. And it was interesting to see how that's working out. Like, lots of stops. They have to do rapid testing before they go in. And then then they still have to sit like 6 feet apart. So meeting rooms that used to hold, 12 people, you are now reserved for 3. Like, it's weird. So,
wow.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It'd be interesting to see how it pans out, but I'm in no rush to put real pants on. I'm thinking about it though. Are track pants acceptable Disney attire? Do you think?
Why not?
Like park attire, because that would be comfortable.
People walk around
right?
with like stretchy pants on, like
yeah. Yeah, that's true, right? They wear tights and
tights. Yeah, that's
is that what they call them?
That's the word, tights. Yeah, people
leggings,
wear tights.
leggings.
Oh my
gosh,
yes.
How old are we? We can't think of the word for it.
We didn't call them leggings.
So legging. Yeah, people wear leggings, so I guess you could wear track pants.
Absolutely.
Because I gotta tell you, my track pants are very light and comfortable, and like kind of cool, right? That's what you need. Yeah. I think they're perfect park attire. I may be packing my track pants next trip.
Goodness.
Yeah. Anyway, so this week we got some great feedback on our last couple podcasts about mistakes to avoid. Mm-hmm. And, we are starting. So we just started, I started posting on social asking people for questions. So we are going to do another Q&A episode. So if you're listening, send in some, whatever you want, questions.
Ask us anything.
Ask us anything. We'll answer. So send them in, and we'll be compiling them together for an episode. And but this week we were talking about the weather, because the weather is all over the place here and in Florida right now. Mm-hmm. And we thought maybe it would be good for us to share some tips for dealing with different kinds of weather that you get in Florida. I think between the two of us, we've been there through all sorts of different fun Florida weather. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more volatile than California weather.
Yeah.
Like the California weather is a lot, like it's hot.
Nice. It's just perfect.
Oh my gosh, here we go. I shouldn't have gone there.
Let's go back to Florida. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
End of story.
Well, Florida is fun to navigate the weather sometimes, and depending on the time of the year, you can safely predict some of the weather, depending on the time of the year that you're going.
I find now it's like predicting it. It's like a fair chance it's going to be hot as heck.
You are 100% right, especially at this time of the year. So right now, in late July, early August, it's hotter than walking on the surface of the sun. Like, it's just, it is extreme heat.
Yeah.
But it's also humid.
Very. That's the worst part.
So what would be your tips? So why don't we start with the extreme heat? Extreme heat and humidity, and how do you deal with that in Florida? Like, what are your tips for that?
Lots of water.
Oh, look at you. So the water is a huge one, obviously. I'm usually all over whoever I'm traveling with to make sure they're drinking water all year round, but especially at this time. I think one year I was there in July, and I was staying at Bay Lake Tower, and the walk to the Magic Kingdom is what? 10 minutes? 15 if you're sauntering? And I drank 2 bottles of water on that walk. It was that hot. And by the time I got to the park, I thought, I'm going to pass out.
Yeah.
It was that hot.
Yeah, so, I think it's and if you've never been at that, like, if you've never experienced that, like, it's hard to express to people how hot how you really do feel. Like,
yes,
you can drink 2 bottles of water in a 10-minute walk. Your shirt's got sweat spots on it, and it's only been 10 or 15 minutes.
Yes,
you know, you grab it. Yeah, you don't know if you hope your deodorant's working. Like, I remember being there one July, and we were like touring stuff and looking at a resort, and we were grabbing like handfuls of ice from the drink stands and the ice machines, and just putting them down our t-shirt, like our shirts.
I remember that.
and the Disney staff being like, it's not like saying, hey, you can't take our ice or whatever. Like, I'm like, they're just like, yeah, we get it. And we were so hot, like, we were worried that was gonna, like, we were gonna suffer from it because it was so hot. Like, the fact that you would take ice and just whatever, and it felt good, even if you wet your shirt. Like, it just kept some air conditioning happening. It was what you needed to do. Like, it can get that hot, and so heat stroke and sunburns and all that stuff, plus the heat.
Yeah, they're real concerns. Mm-hmm. So wearing a hat can help with the heat stroke, for sure.
Wearing a hat or having an umbrella, like, to block the sun, like, that helps a lot. Like, as much as it may seem silly that you're going to use an umbrella if it's not rainy, like, it takes that little bit of edge off.
Yes.
Off the blazing sun, for sure.
Yeah, that for sure. And the ice machines, like, make use of those at your resort. So filling your sink in your room with ice to put your bottles of water or whatever in, to maybe get them ice cold,
like extra
cold to take with you to the parks. And you can get free ice water at any quick service location.
Mm-hmm. So you can get water whenever you need it. You just have to remember that that's what you can do. And bring, like, I always would get water and like, make it as cold as I can in the room, and then take the towels from the room or bring some from home. Like, just cheap, thinner towels, and kind of wrap them up. Like, I always would wrap them up and try to insulate them in my knapsack or whatever to keep them a little bit cold. It does work.
It does work. It does work. Because you did that a lot for us, where we almost froze them. Like, they were almost frozen bottles of water, and then you wrapped them up in the towel, and they did. They stayed cold for a long time in your knapsack.
It does help. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how you dress, and I guess that goes hand in hand with hats, but you know, thinking about the clothes you're wearing and keeping cool, but also, like, covering up because of the sun and the heat.
Yes.
Situations.
And those cooling towels, I have to tell you.
What I was going to say next.
Yeah, like, I am such a huge believer in them.
Like, I think anything at all that you can think to keep yourself cool, whether it's like the cooling towels, the misters, packaging, like bringing the extra water so that you have nice cold water to drink. Like, keeping, my friend, she keeps a face cloth, like, she gets dollar store face cloths and she puts them in a Ziploc baggie, and whenever we go into the washroom, she, like, wets it, and then she just wipes her face down to keep herself cool. Like, you go to the washroom, like, you're drinking water like crazy, you're always in the washroom, right? So, you know, she'll wet it and wipe her face down to cool herself off. and sweat too, because we're sweating. And then you can just like rinse it and squeeze it and put it in the Ziploc bag because it's wet still, right? Like,
right.
You don't want to stick a wet cloth in your purse or your knapsack. And then the next time you can do the same thing, just like rinse it out, get it nice and cold under the water, and then, wash, like keep yourself cool. Like that helps you stay cool too. So any little bit helps.
Ziploc bags are a good idea for that. Mm-hmm. Really good idea for that.
Ziploc bags are good for so many things when you're at the theme parks.
I know. You may as well just take a bunch of them when you go, because they're good for all sorts.
Mostly, I wish I had them for like putting in leftover snacks, but definitely for
who has leftover snacks? Like, who has any snacks left to put in a Ziploc? Cupcakes don't go well in a Ziploc. No.
It just shows our snacking habits, our snacking preferences are a little different. Mine do sometimes. We have a Ziploc bag.
Yours do.
But yeah.
Yeah. So those cooling towels, we got them one year, and I gotta say, like, I don't understand how it works. Like, it sounds like it would just be like a face cloth, but when you wet it in the sink, and it's not cool water, because when you wash your hands, like, it's not like cold water, and then you take it out and then you snap it, like you fling it, and it makes it cold. And I don't understand how it works, but it stays cool for quite a while. And yeah, so every time you go to, when you're drinking that much water, I spend, when we go to Epcot, I'm walking from bathroom to bathroom. Like, that's how I'm getting through the park, because I'm drinking so much. So...
Well, on hot days, too, in the parks, it's easier to get out bright and early if you can and be outside. Although, it gets hot very quickly. But to be out as early as you possibly can, and then have a break in the afternoon back at your resort, or go for a swim, or even just do things differently where you're inside buildings or in the shade, a little bit more relaxing versus, pounding on the pavement and running around the parks. Mm-hmm.
And whatever tips that you're using to stay cool, don't let it fool you that you haven't been out in the sun. Make sure you've got your sunscreen on, because it's really easy when you're doing all these things to stay cool to forget the fact that the sun is beating down on you, and it's exhausting and it's tiring, and it's important to take it slow and take breaks on indoor attractions and things where there's air conditioning. That's so important, and especially for the little ones.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times as a kid I had sunstroke in Florida. Like, I don't know why. Maybe we just didn't know about it. Well, we did, because every time I would get sick, my mom would say, "Oh, she's got heat stroke." Like, I don't know how I ended up with it so much. Like, but I did. I used to get heat stroke all the time as a kid when we were going. So it's, for the little ones, it's important to keep them shaded and hydrated and cool as well. Mm-hmm. That's the issue going sort of in the heat of the summer, in the height of the summer. When it's really extremely hot, there are afternoon showers sometimes.
Always, I think.
Usually around 3:00. The afternoon showers that come in Florida. So what are your tips for how to deal with? So I think we've covered how to deal with the heat.
Yeah. Don't underestimate the heat. Be extra prepared.
Yes. But what would your tips be for a rain shower? How do you deal with the rain shower?
Pack some ponchos.
Don't leave them in the room.
Don't leave your ponchos in the room because you don't think it's going to rain today.
Yeah, you can get up in the morning and there's not a cloud in the sky and you think, "Oh, it's a perfect day. I don't need the poncho." And sure enough, mid-afternoon, clouds roll in. Sometimes you don't even see them coming. And then all of a sudden, the sky opens and there's a downpour. And
as much as you hear a lot of stuff about the Disney ponchos costing a fortune, because they do, right? Like, they do. Over the years, they've crept up. They're really cool ponchos. Really cool ponchos. But they're bigger and they're hard to fold up once you've used them, and you don't want to get rid of them because it costs you $8 or $9 or whatever they cost now. So buying a whole bunch of dollar store ponchos before you leave, like, they're tiny, like $10 store ponchos is like the size of like one Disney poncho,
True.
When you've bought it. Like, forget about when you're trying to, like, fold it up and put it back in your knapsack after you've shaken it off. Brand new, it's like the ratio is like 10-1 for like size in your bag. So you'll need lots of them if you're there when there's going to be rains every day or every other day or whatever. So you can just use it and throw it in the garbage, or use it and try to save it and reuse it if you like. But yeah, they're a bit better for stash.
Which ones?
Them.
The dollar store
ones, yeah.
But don't you find they rip a little bit easier?
Well,
I always end up ripping them, and I always end up where I don't actually have an arm. It's just split all the way down the one side.
I don't know. I think they work out okay generally.
Unless you're klutzy.
And you can probably use them a couple times if you're keen on doing that for sure. But they're very thin plastic, and you're just meant, like, you wear them and you get rid of them.
Yes.
So, and that's the thing. I think with the family, you'd have a bunch of them, and you might need 4 or 5 of them when it starts to rain. So having these little tiny baby...
Yeah, they are smaller. Those Disney ones, oh my gosh, you can't fold them back. You can't. No. How many of those do you think you have?
Oh, I have a few of them. Like in my house right now, I probably have like 8 or 10 of them for sure.
I know.
I have some that were like I've been given at events that I didn't even use. Like I have some brand spanking new ones that have never been used. I probably have 2 or 3 of them because like I never used them. Maybe like I got it and then it didn't really rain too much or whatever, so I like fold them up and kept them. But yeah, I've got some of those old yellow ones. I don't have really old ones, but I have the yellow ones with Mickey on them. Like
I love from like those ones.
One of my first trip, like probably my first trip as an adult. And
seriously,
mm-hmm.
I love those ones. Yeah, I didn't save those. We have ponchos because we always we get stuck, we get caught, it's raining, I gotta go buy them. I take them back to the resort and say, okay, these ones I'm gonna bring with me every time, when we go to the park tomorrow, and then I forget.
And an umbrella is okay, like when it rains a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, like how many times have you ever been in Florida where it rains like umbrella weather, or when it rains, like it's poncho rain. Like it's like you need to cover as much of your body up as possible.
Yes, because it's not like spitting or just raining directly down. It's like coming from everywhere and it's splashing up from the ground, and you need a poncho. You're right, to cover everything in your knapsack, and because
full coverage if possible.
Yeah. 100% agree.
So, yeah. And then I guess when it rains, lots of people leave, or some people leave. Like if you're well prepared with your ponchos and your umbrellas, and maybe you got a poncho and an umbrella, you got to double up. If it's not going to, have lightning or whatever, you can keep going through the parks and ride the rides that you're allowed to, or go into the inside attractions and do all kinds of stuff while some of the people have left, so the crowds get a little bit lighter. So
the crowds absolutely get lighter after, like during the rain. A lot of people leave. They figure it's a great time to go back to the resort or take a break.
Or maybe they're not prepared and they don't want to buy 5 ponchos.
Yeah, true. But there's lots of attractions that continue, indoor attractions. Now, outside, they will stop the attractions for the rain or the lightning. Mm-hmm. So if there's lightning, even if it, like, there's a certain distance, it has to be from the park. But if it gets close enough to the park, then they shut down the outdoor attractions. But there's plenty of indoor ones you can go to. I would avoid shopping. And I only say that because the stores get crazy when it's raining, because everybody wants to go in and get a little reprieve from the rain, and then the stores are jam-packed.
And really, if you have your poncho on, it gets kind of hot in the store.
It does. Those are hard to take on and off. Like once you put it on.
And I'm the type, I'll just leave that poncho on, because I don't want the hassle of taking it off, putting it on, shaking it out, doing whatever, carrying it around a wet poncho. I'm the one that just keeps a poncho on. Like, I'll keep it on till it's done raining. Like, in and out, wherever we are, it can just stay on, and then I'll take it off when it's done raining.
Exactly. So it's definitely something, ponchos are the lifesaver when it's raining.
Well, now, remember the other day you said make sure you have extra shoes, because if you get stuck in that rain, then your shoes
and they take forever to dry. They really do. They take forever to dry. But once the rain is over, sometimes it's like the nicest weather right after the rain. Because sometimes it's like a 10-minute shower in Florida. It comes and it goes, and it's over before you know it.
Well, I think that's a difference between, like, I'm sure there's days that are just crappy, and then there's all the days where it's just the humidity and the heat, and it's the 3 o'clock shower. And then there's the rain, like, if you happen to go during, like, hurricane season. So, like, during hurricane season, if there's, like, a system working up the coast or whatever, like, you know, Orlando's far inland, but if it's working up the coast, then you might get a lot of inclement weather and have like full yucky days where,
yes,
you know, not just the 3 o'clock shower, you'll have a whole day that's like horrible, right, and nonstop, you know. So that's that. I think there's different types of rain, but I don't know the ratio of how much rain is like the 3 o'clock showers to the hurricane.
The hurricane for right.
Yeah, like it's just something like if you think something's working up one of the coast, like some inclement weather is bound to come inland to Orlando.
Of course.
Right? So
yes.
It's just like the outskirts or the aftermath of something that's, you know, that's passed by or whatever.
And it's and it's because you can end up with it for a few days. Mm-hmm. And that's especially true, like you said, during hurricane season. So I'm usually there in hurricane season. My sister's birthday's in September, so we tend to travel in September, which is great for hurricanes and tornadoes and different things like that. So yeah, we should maybe tackle like the severe weather, what it's like to be in Florida during that. Now, have you been there during any of the really severe stuff?
I haven't been there during. I've been there when it's happening. When it's going to happen, and I've been leaving, like trying to get out before it gets there. But I haven't been there
remember you and I were trying to get out. How many flights did we have booked? And we're going to drive to, where were we driving to? Miami to try and get a flight.
I think we were going to go to St. Pete's or something or whatever to get a flight. We had one of those booked.
Right. So this was when we went together. This was our coast-to-coast trip, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So by the time we got to Florida, there was a storm coming in.
A big one.
And they were talking about closing the airports. They did close the airport.
Yep.
And we didn't know. It was one of those things where, are we going to ride it out here or are we going to try and get out before? Because if we ride it out, it could be 3 or 4 days that we're stuck here and we weren't sure about work.
Yeah.
We both had to get back to work.
And there was no... so that's the thing. As soon as there's word of something coming that may affect your travel, like when you're at Disney, you feel pretty safe, and you can speak of that because you've been there during that. But when the first thing you need to do is you need to deal with your travel plans, because what happens is it's not so much that anything bad's going to happen on this vacation to you because of this hurricane. What's going to happen is that you're going to not be able to change your plans or get on a different flight, because as soon as word hits that there's something coming that could hinder your travel, everybody changes their plans, right? So yes. Immediately on the top of your to-do list is you have to make a decision. If you're writing it out, you'll go home whenever you get there, or you need to fix it. And everybody is like knee-jerk, and proper reaction really is to fix it, right? So we were trying to get our flights changed and whatever, and everybody's changing things, and then all of a sudden there's nothing left. And that was the situation we were in. We couldn't... They were planning on closing the airport, and everybody was trying to get out. And if you don't act quick, there's nothing for you to book. Like you're driving to another city, you're hoping that people cancel, you're hoping that they maybe send out another plane and fill it up. Like everybody moves quick, and then if you wait too long, you'll have no options to even do anything. That's kind of where we were, right? We had multiple flights booked home because we couldn't figure out what was going to happen. Like, were we cutting our trip short? Were we extending it? You know,
and figuring out where you're going to stay. So even if you decide, okay, I'm going to ride it out, you don't know how long you're going to be there for. So where are you going to stay? What resort? Do you have money for extra nights at your Disney resort or wherever? Do they even have availability? Mm-hmm. That quickly became an issue for us. We were staying in Gran Destino, weren't we? I think we were staying at Coronado Springs in the tower. Because I remember we were sitting there, we both had our laptops out, trying to find flights, trying to find anything, and figure out how were we gonna get home.
And it's kind of funny for us because we're so like, whatever, well, we, what's a big deal or whatever. But we realized quickly we had to figure this out, or else we were gonna be stuck or whatever. And I didn't want to be stuck because I wanted to get back to work, and you were like, let me stay here forever.
I know. I'm not, if there's only one seat left, you can have it. I'll stay.
She did give me that seat.
I did. And then it worked out that we got home anyway. So
yeah, for sure.
And I think the storm it didn't even hit.
Or wasn't so bad.
It wasn't so bad. And then the airport was open and our flight was back on, or it was on, but a couple hours later. Maybe
it was delayed. Maybe the storm was delayed a little bit. Or
yeah.
I can't remember.
It was craziness. We went through so much, probably 72 hours of, oh my gosh, how are we going to get home? Planning with our friends to go to Fort Lauderdale or here, there, and everywhere. And then in the end, our flight was leaving on as scheduled, or a couple hours later. It was for nothing. But it was a fun, yeah, you wanted to go home for work. I was quite happy to get stuck there. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what kind of happens when you're there and you have to make decisions.
You have to decide quick which way you want to go. Do you want to wait it out, or do you want to get home before it?
Because ideally, the ideal situation is that you fly there with no problem. There's a bit of inclement weather and a storm you have to deal with while you're there, and then by the time your trip's done, you just fly home as regular, and you're just like, yeah, we were there during a tropical storm.
Yep. So it's happened to me a few times. And I don't think I'm a jinx or anything, but it just so happens that I travel usually during that time. I've been there through, there was one, we were staying at Old Key West, and it was a horrible hail, and it wasn't a tornado, but it was like a hailstorm. It was a horrible storm that they had warnings and everything on the TV. Get into your room, stay away from the windows, blah, blah, blah. Fun fact, I was in the pool 5 minutes before that alarm went off. But that's how quickly the weather can change there. So one of the great things is Disney is incredible with, as you would expect, it's not shocking that they are incredible when it comes to your safety, because it's their first priority during any kind of storm. So one year, it was a big year for my sister's birthday. So it was a big milestone birthday. We were going to do a cruise, and I think 10 days at the park or 7 days at the parks after the cruise for her birthday with her friends, and Hurricane Irma was coming through, and they canceled. That was a big one. That was a big one. And they canceled our cruise, and we were like, oh, what are we going to do? Do we go? Do we not? It was, whatever. We decided we were going. And we were on, I think it was almost the last flight into Orlando. It was kind of funny because they had to rearrange us on the plane. I don't understand this. There's baggage and all sorts of stuff, but we couldn't stay in our assigned seats because there was only 10 passengers on the plane. It was a massive plane because they had to pick everybody up coming home. And they had to space us out around the plane to balance the weight. So for takeoff, it was so bizarre. Anyway, it was such a great flight. The flight attendants were lovely because you basically had personal service. They just sat and chatted with us.
They were loading a whole plane full of people to get them out of Dodge.
Oh my goodness. You would not have believed the people waiting at that gate when we arrived to get on that plane. Everybody was trying to get out of Orlando, and we were arriving. But, I can tell you the first couple of days before the storm hit, the parks were quiet. They were so quiet. And, but that weather that you talk about lasting a couple of days, it really did. So Disney had stuff. It was interesting to see how they prepared. Like they taped garbage cans to the pillars so that they wouldn't blow away. They had covered all the light fixtures that were glass. So they were all covered in case they got broken so that the glass didn't fall on the ground. They, like everything was sort of nailed or taped or whatever. They had sandbags at the resort. So we were staying, because we didn't plan to be there the whole time we were supposed to be on the cruise, we had reservations everywhere. So we rode out the storm at Bay Lake Tower. We were there, we watched it come in, and, it was incredible. So the parks closed, and before COVID, the parks never really closed. It was like a big deal. So while it was pouring, I did walk over to get my picture taken in front of the Magic Kingdom while it was closed, because I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so they had stuff on the TVs, all the channels. They had notifications all over the resort telling you to not go outside, not, telling you when to expect the storm to come in. They had entertainment. So they had inside the Contemporary, and they had them at all the resorts. They had character meets. They had movies that they were playing inside with popcorn and things like that. They had so many fantastic things for us to do inside the resort to keep us entertained. It was incredible. But they did have a lot of notifications for us. We did go over to the Wave for breakfast one morning just before, I think it was the day before the storm was coming in. And in the Wave, there's no windows, so you can't see outside. So we know that a hurricane's coming. We don't know when. And all of a sudden, everybody in the restaurant's phone was going off. You know those emergency notification? And the emergency notification was the spotting of a tornado. So we're in the bottom of the Contemporary Resort. We know a hurricane's coming, and we're getting notifications of a tornado. The cast were unbelievably calm and kind. And the cast actually stayed at the resort. So a lot of them, for their safety, so they weren't traveling back home, were staying at the resorts during this as well. And the hurricane passed through. It was overnight when it came through. And we felt completely safe. And a lot of locals came too. So a lot of locals come to the Disney resorts to stay during the storms because it's safer for them than some of their homes, and they bring their pets. There were lots of dogs and cats, and it was fun to see all of the pets coming in. And afterwards there was a lot of damage to trees and things like that, but it was only a matter of days, and everything just looked like there had been no storm at all. It was crazy, and the weather afterwards was beautiful.
Yeah, I bet.
It was incredible.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how quickly they put everything into action, and the safety. Your safety is the first priority for Disney. So that part was we never felt. I think so. There were 4 of us together in the room at that Bay Lake Tower. And that night we had the news on, and 2 of the 4 slept right through the hurricane. Like the whole build up, we were looking out the window. What's it going to be like? Blah blah blah. Yeah, no, 2 slept right through it. But it was quite a storm. Like there was water in the hallway, and we were on like the 8th floor. So on our balcony, there were there were branches, like remnants, leaves from the trees that had come up to the 8th floor onto our balcony.
Wow.
Yeah. I did put together a video of it on YouTube of what it was like, but it was definitely an interesting experience. Now, I have been on a cruise at the same time too, and I feel like, I don't know whether it was a tornado or a hurricane. I can't even remember. It was that long ago. But we were on a 7-day cruise, a Disney cruise, and the port was damaged. So Port Canaveral was damaged, and the storm was coming in, and they ended up keeping us out at sea for 3 days. to avoid it. So I was like, I like to say I was on the first 10-day Disney cruise. And they had to take us to Texas to get fuel, and then they just kept us out at sea. It was beautiful. It was only a little rough coming back in.
Yeah, I've seen some footage of what a cruise ship looks like when there's hurricane winds and hurricane not anywhere near them, you know.
Yeah, it was a little rough coming back in for sure. That night at the dining room when we were coming back into land, there were not a lot of people at dinner. There were a lot of people that were not feeling too good, because you can see the water, like your water glass on the table swishing back and forth, and
my goodness,
yeah. So, but everybody was safe. So the moral of the story is, no matter where you are at Disney, your safety is top of mind, and if there's a storm or anything going on, that is the first priority for them.
Yeah, and I think when people when they want to go at that time of the year. Because, back in the good old days, that was when the parks were the quietest, at the end of August and the start of September. And the old free dining promo that was when it only used to be back in the good old days. The free dining promo was only from end of August into September, before it was in other months of the year and what it turned into be. So it's like, you have to just you can have a fantastic vacation regardless of it being that season. I think you just need to understand what could happen, and nothing anything bad, but understanding the hot weather, the humidity, and understanding that you might have to deal with inclement weather, and you might have not one bit of horrible weather other than the regular 3:00 showers, or you could have a week where there's lots of yuckiness because of stuff that's happening in the Caribbean and in the oceans or whatever, and there's really no way to know
which one you're going to get.
It's just sort of you understand that could happen, and what it could be this, or it could be that, or maybe something in between. But there's nothing that can predict what it will really be like at that time of the year.
Not when you're planning far in advance, and
exactly, which most people are planning. It's a couple weeks in advance if there's storms, and I guess you can see if there's lots of tropical storm activity, I suppose, that season.
Yes,
you can kind of see what's brewing and what's moving about. But
yes,
but when you're thinking about it, in January, whether you should go in September or December or whatever.
Exactly.
You can't tell what it's going to be. You just have to understand that that's a time of year, and that these are the things that could happen. The recipe for weather at that time of year.
Yeah, they're more likely at that time of the year, or you can look at historical weather. But when you talked about January, and that's the other weather that people don't really expect in Florida.
Well,
is when it gets a little chilly.
Well, and I almost think I don't think it's as chilly as it, or maybe it is. I found that years ago it used to be you'd be lucky if you got the warm week. You tell everybody, well, it's probably going to be chilly. It's going to be chillier in the morning. It's going to be probably chillier than you expect, depending on what your expectations are. And now it seems I see lots of people there at Christmas time, wearing tank tops and shorts, and
yes,
it seems there seems to be more hot weeks and hot times there than there used to be, but maybe not. I think it's just, it can be cooler. If you really have this idea that it's going to be, blazing heat, just because it's not Canada or not in the north, and you're going to Florida, that it's going to be a beautiful, weather.
Yeah, January. I have been there in January and had a winter coat on. I have, so one of the great tips is obviously to look at the weather before you go, but also bring a little extra spending money if you need to buy a sweater. Disney is fantastic at having, when it's cold, bringing out the carts. They have little mittens, scarves. They're happy to sell you whatever you need to stay warm. Hoodies, sweatshirts. It's a great time and a great excuse to buy them. But it can be, in the morning and at night, the temperatures can really drop.
Yeah, you could definitely need like little dollar store mitts and to keep your hands a little bit warm. But I think for like traveling at that time of year, it's very, very important to like really pay close attention to just before you go, and not like even a couple weeks before or whatever, but like be prepared like the day or two before you go to look at the forecast and determine if you really need to change the way that you've packed. Because really, if it's going to be a blazing hot week and, you know, you're okay with, you know, the weather is going to be okay, it looks like it's going to be okay, like you really, you know, you can pack lots of shorts versus packing lots of jeans or whatever, right?
Yes.
Like you could really like pivot and change your packing if you knew that the weather was going to be a certain way. Because like imagine packing for both.
Well,
and being also an overpacker, like you would.
I can imagine, because you know,
right? Like imagine being an overpacker and packing for both. But like I've definitely been many times at that time of year. That's when I used to always go. When I first started going was in January and December, and like you could easily wear runners socks, jeans, and a hoodie or a zip up all the time if it's a cooler day, like no problem at all. So, you know, so like for some people that are thinking like they're going to be blazing in the sun and laying on a beach chair, you know, every afternoon when they take their break, you know, sometimes at that time of the year, the only people that are in the pool are the Canadians or the people from Michigan. Right? And it depends on, like, some days it's beautiful, sometimes it's beautiful weather, right? And you can do that, but it might not be. So really,
well, and it's important being prepared, and depending on where you're coming from, right? You might have a warm outfit that you're wearing down, and there are laundry facilities at all the Disney resorts, so you know, if you need to, you probably wore something down that is warmer that you can use, right? So yeah, there's definitely cooler weather in Florida that you need to be aware of.
Like I know people that like have debated on whether or not they like when you're traveling, you know, often you'll leave your winter jacket or whatever in the car when you're at the airport, and you might not bring it or whatever, or you wear something a little bit different. And I know a lot of people that have went at that time of year and wore their fall coats to Florida or their winter coats and were happy that they did. Like, because there is a couple of really chilly days, like a cold, like fall day that we'd have where it's not comfortable. Like it's cold enough that it's not comfortable for sure. Yep. Right. That you'd wanna be fully bundled.
I have been there with friends who were very thankful that I was an overpacker and had 4 different hoodies that I could give one to each of them.
And that gave you a reason to buy more. I didn't. That wasn't me.
So we have covered the extreme heat and humidity, the cold, the rain with and without lightning, and hurricanes and tornadoes. Anything else you think we need to cover? I think we've covered the gamut of weather.
I'm sure there's probably some more things we could say, but I don't know right now if there's anything.
But it's important to know you can have a great time at Disney no matter what the weather.
That's the moral of the story.
No matter what the weather, you're going to have a great time. But there are some things that you can do if you know and you watch the weather that you can prepare to make sure that it's an even better time or it's more enjoyable regardless of the weather. Even in a hurricane, we had the best trip ever.
That's what I was going to say earlier, that you guys still had the best trip ever. Like I think like just little things that you could do with like packing a light scarf or packing like little mittens or whatever will just having those on hand to take the edge off on a cool morning or whatever, like so you're not just, you know, uncomfortable with anything. It doesn't take much to be a little bit more prepared.
Yes.
To make it not so bad if you did come across some of those things, right? Like,
so I think we've given some good tips for weather prevention and
whether we did or not, we'll hear it, I'm sure, in the comments.
We will. So Carrie, now that we're wrapping up to this week's episode, I don't even want to ask what your pixie dust is because I have this feeling I know what it is, and I think I know what it is, but
it's probably the best pixie dust I've had in a long while. I think, really. Like
we haven't. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, share with everyone what brought you joy this week.
Last week, I think I can't remember what part, but I think I was joking around. Maybe it was my pixie dust last week. I think I joked around and told everybody, all the listeners, to send you a picture of their cat because there's nothing more you'd like in this universe right now than to have your email or your messages bombarded with photos of cats.
Yeah, you did. That's exactly what you said.
And one of our Pixie Dust fans, Ashley, she started a thread in our group. And I think there was like 75 cat pictures posted.
Oh my, I've never seen so many cats in one place. She's like, well,
goodness,
Carrie asked.
So beautiful. Yeah. Show me your kitties. And I am sure, like, I commented on all of them because, first of all, I love all of them.
You're in your glory
shared their
with this
pictures,
post.
and I love every single kitty that's there, and I had to make a comment about why I loved every single one of them. But also, then you'd get all those notifications too.
Oh my! Every minute I'm getting all these notifications of so and so commented on a post you're tagged, and I was like, oh my gosh! What? And every time I went and looked, it was just more cats. There were cats everywhere.
Oh, so many lovely cats. I love all those cats. They're so cute. So many fluffy ones and floofy ones and ones wearing tuxedos.
Oh my gosh.
They're so cute and so many funny ones. Like some people post like pictures of their cats that just give you that look, like that not impressed look. Like there were so many good pictures of everybody's cats, and lots of people that have multiple cats that I didn't realize that. You
didn't know that all these Pixie Dust fans had multiple cats.
Like we could start a club.
You could. It was and
don't say there already is one called the Crazy Cat Lady Club. But yeah, we could start a club. So that was the best.
Carrie's Crazy Cat Lady.
And because I just saw it like last night pretty late, and I probably stayed up like another hour, like looking at the mom.
I know, you messaged me. You're like, did you see this?
It's so good.
You were so excited.
It's the best. So thank you, Ashley.
Yeah. Yeah. Last week you were saying, oh yeah, because we were asking for people to send feedback and ideas. And you were like, send cat pictures. So we did get our fill of cats. That's for sure. So thank you, Ashley. See?
What about your pixie dust? Beat that.
I don't think I can beat that. My pixie dust this week, I think, would be Discovering the Facts of Life is streaming on TV. It's, it's amazing. So I posted it on Instagram, and it's amazing how many people came back and said, oh my gosh, I love that show, whatever. So I started watching it again from like season 1, episode 1. I'm up to like season 3 now. Wow. And, it's, you know what? It's amazing. It's amazing to watch because it was so long ago that, some people won't even know what I'm talking about, but The Facts of Life, it was a show about a girls' boarding school, and they had like a house mother, Mrs. Garrett, and they were just all different kinds of girls, and it was all about them growing up. They tackle some pretty, like, it's amazing when you watch some of the topics that they tackled were pretty, like, we're still tackling them today. So it was, but it just makes me laugh. And it's just a feel-good, show. So, yeah.
After watching so many, how does the song go? You take the good, you take the bad.
Take the bad, you take them both, and there you have Back to Life.
I couldn't remember how it went on after the first couple.
And fun fact, I mean, when I get to, I don't know what season it is, but that's George Clooney was on The Facts of Life.
Yep.
So, and it's funny to watch when you watch some of the originals. Like Molly Ringwald was in season 1.
I don't remember.
Molly Ringwald was in season 1, and she made an appearance in season 2 as well. She's not in season 3. I haven't seen her in there yet, but it's interesting to see all the people that were in it over the years.
I think I think I kept saying to you about Joey Lawrence being in The Facts of Life, but I think he was in I don't know if he was in Facts of Life. He was on Different Strokes. Which is the same time.
Well, Facts of Life was a spin-off of Different Strokes.
Yeah.
Because Mrs. Garrett was their housekeeper on Different Strokes. So in Canada, we have this TV station called CTV, and they actually have a whole streaming thing of throwbacks. So I have a whole bunch of them lined up to watch. So Facts of Life is on there, Different Strokes, The Jeffersons.
Do you remember Give Me a Break? Give me a
break, I sure deserve. Yes, there's all these shows are on there, and so I can't wait. I'm gonna just, because you know what, I gotta tell you, TV now, there's not a lot of fun, joyful TV shows, and so watching these are kind of fun.
You little binge watcher, you.
I don't know what's happened to me. What have you done to me? Oh, well, okay. So, Carrie, we have covered everything, and this is the part where we're going to remind everyone. We're going to remind everyone, please, please, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps, get the word out about the podcast. Tell people about us, please. And, send in your questions for our Ask Us Anything episode. We, it can be park Disney specific. It can be personal questions, whatever you want to know. That would be great. Send them in to us.
Mm-hmm.
And
fun.
Yeah, these are always fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Until next week, Carrie. Thanks for listening to the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
Make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast player so you'll get a new episode every week. And find us on social media too. We'd love to hear from you.
Till next time, remember, you are never too old to be young. Chase your dreams and design your own happily ever after.